How I use the Assure model for the copyright lesson. In step 1, analyze learners, I thought about the students in the scenario and the things that they might already know and what they might most need to know in their upcoming project. So in my scenario, I thought that they might be a 5th grade class. At least I imagine that they're 5th grade. And I teach 4th grade, so I more or less know what 4th grade knows and what 5th grade probably needs to know. So I know from the scenario that they're part of a reading class. I know that they're digital natives who have experience using the internet to locate sources. Probably they're very experienced with Googling things and are not quite sure which things are permissible to use and which are not, especially using Google to locate images for their projects. I thought that might be one of the ways in which they are probably very much violating copyright. And so I included a lot about images in the presentation. At the very beginning, I stated the standard and objectives. So I stated that the objective was for students to be able to describe copyright. And then after the lesson, answer some questions related to copyright at the end on Flip. When doing the next step, select strategies and resources, I attempted to address this area by acknowledging things that they probably already know and tailoring the lesson to things that 5th grade students are probably going to be using and working on in the very near future. I also attempted to give some resources to students to use to locate those images that would be permissible for them to use without violating copyright. I tried to give information about fair use that mostly pertains to students who are going to be using their presentations in an educational capacity. In the next step, utilize resources, I attempted to do this step by including some screenshots of real websites that students could use to gather copyright-free images. If I was giving the lesson in real life, I would think that they would be able to use their iPads during the lesson to access in real life some of those websites. I thought that in the real lesson, I would have liked to have created a Padlet with some of those resources on there that students could click into and use during the lesson. And that also goes into require learner participation. I would have required students to do a little bit on their own in the middle of the lesson so I can see where they're at and what misconceptions there still are. So some of the tasks that I might have had the students do was to work with a group, and each group has a scenario of a situation in which someone violated copyright in several different ways, like they used too much of something, too much of a video or too much of a text, or they were using it to sell something or something like that, and have students analyze it and search for the way that the person violated copyright and how the person could change their actions to align with fair use. Another possible thing that students could have done during the lesson was to locate some um, public domain images that use a Creative Commons license by using some of those websites that I created the screenshots of in the presentation. In the evaluate and revise step, if it was a real lesson and the students had posted their response on Flip, I think in the presentation I posted that they needed to put a 1-minute video. I think I would need in real life to change that to at least 2 minutes for them to answer the 3 questions. Through the answers to the questions, I would be able to see who understands copyright in relation to them and who still needs additional lessons about it in order to understand better. And I would be able to incorporate that knowledge into any future lessons on copyright. and possibly readdress it with this group of students at a later date.